Hello? Hello, everybody. What's going on? Welcome back to the Kit Kat stream. I guess we're just gonna call it that from now on. Let's see. I think we're just gonna get right into it. But before we start, looks like Spicy Bulgogi and Frib followed. Fribless. I think Fribless is from the server. But yo, big support. They followed while we were offline. What the hell, man? If you're gonna follow, you wanna do that when we're online, so I can shout you out. All right. Okay, so we are here to play 428 Shibuya Scramble. Let's go. Let me get my face here. Hello. What's going on? Gum. Am I playing the game? It's launching. It's launching. It's launching. Alright. Got gum. I got my ice cold water. And actually I have a... Okay. I have another water that I'll be drinking from now on. We've got one more character. Why is this game not starting? What the hell? Man, I knew I should have started. I should have launched the game first. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Okay. I think we just got this one last story part in 11 o'clock. Then we got to finish. And after that, it shouldn't take that long, because I think I've got most of the bad ends out of the way and all the other possible routes taken care of already, so pretty sure pretty sure that it shouldn't take more than 30 minutes, maybe. I'll be reading everything out loud, but I probably won't be doing any voices like yesterday. And I should probably turn the game capture on. That would be a good thing to do. One thing I really appreciate that this game does is when you start it up the first time, it defaults to borderless, and it's great. I love it. And I think this game is super quiet because my computer volume is super quiet. Alright, so we finished Tama, Minorikawa, Kano, and Achi, which means we just have to take care of this raggedy old dude. Look at him. This is the first time we've seen this guy. And I haven't seen him pop up in other characters' stories, so we'll see. Wealth, status, honor. None of these mean anything to me. I'm gonna move this back a little bit in case I'm a little bit loud. All I want is a peaceful life, to put worry behind me, to stay calm and serene, to be free of worldly concerns. Wow, what a fucking edgelord, man. Free at any cost. A cheery rhythm pumped from the CD player set up against the study wall. It was the latest hit from Aya Kaneki, the songwriter sensation who's blowing up the pop charts. I can't like read and listen at the same time. It's Kenji Osawa reached for the stereo remote on his desktop. He ratcheted the volume up a little louder. He looked like the sort of man who'd be more interested in classical music, but in fact, he was a huge fan of the girl rock popular with middle schoolers. Closing his eyes, he swayed back and forth in time with the music, humming his favorite lyrics under his breath, but his movements faltered. It's no use. Aya's voice usually soothed whatever ailed him, but today, even she couldn't help. Today, Osawa was a complete wreck in both body and mind. It's a bop, though. It's got good taste. Mounds of paperwork were scattered across the desktop in his study. All of it about viruses and vaccines. Let's see. Yeah. UA is the common term for a group of viruses belonging to UA-like viruses, family Filoviridae, which cause UA virus, fulminant hemorrhagic fever. Jesus Christ, I'm not gonna read that. It had only been a week since he'd returned from a business trip to his company's branch office in the US, and he was slated to go back in another week's time. There was a truly staggering amount of work he needed to get through while he was at home. He picked up one of the papers, glanced at it aimlessly, then tossed it back onto the desk. Slumping back in his chair, he let a long, deep sigh. He was in no mental state to work right now. A faint knock at the door barely roused him from his torpor. "Director, may I come in?" It was his vice director, Mamoru Tanaka. "Sure, the door's open." Tanaka came into the study. "I know it's not a great time, but..." Osawa could barely make out his words. He tapped the remote, lowering the volume of the music. Tanaka continued apologetically. "A call came in from the lab. They're hoping for a response to the email they sent yesterday. I'm sure they don't need it today. Apparently they do need an answer as soon as possible, sir. I did ask them to give you some more time, but..." "I see," Osawa said wearily. "All right, then." Tanaka dipped his head slightly and slipped from the room. Osawa contemplated his colleague. Tanaka was a man he could truly depend on. He has enough of his own work to do. He didn't need to come here again today, but he did. They'd been working in close concert ever since Osawa had gotten back to Japan. Without Tanaka's support, there was no way he would be in a mindset to do any work at all right now. Sidling up to his computer, Osawa opened his email program and started answering the work-related emails. He reported on his business travel expenses, offered his opinions on capital investments, requested confirmation of current medicinal stockpiles, and he worked with a bleak detachment. None of this meant anything to him right now. Then a new email appeared in his mailbox. The sender was identified simply as A. The subject line read, "1 year ago, South Africa." The message body was blank, but there appeared to be multiple images attached. Ordinarily, Osamu would have deleted a message like this immediately, assuming that it contained some kind of virus. But the words South Africa drew his attention. Could this possibly be related to... He couldn't help but to wonder. For a long moment, he hovered the cursor over one of the image files. At last, as if spurred on by the upbeat rhythm in his ears, he double-clicked the mouse. What is this? The grainy photograph showed a large room with a dozen or so people laid out in beds. Hang on, Hang on, what the frick? Okay. Just some people pinging me. Alright. It appeared to be some sort of medical ward. Osawa felt a strange flutter in his chest. He quickly opened another image. This one showed a close-up of one of the patients in his bed. Large red blotches covered his face. A large volume of blood appeared to be dripping from his ears and nostrils. A cold shudder ran up Osawa's spine. What the hell? These symptoms. Osawa opened up the remaining image files. Each new picture showed another of the patients. They all appeared to be teetering on the brink of death. There was no doubt about it. These people were infected with the UA virus, which is... belongs to family of Filoviridae, genus... whatever that means, whatever that says. It is a member of the same family as the Ebola virus and causes UA virus fulminant hemorrhagic fever. It is capable of airborne transmission, although an infected individual cannot pass on the infection before symptoms manifest. The U.S. Centers for U.S. CDC have assigned the virus to Risk Group 4, their classification for the most dangerous infection agents. Neato. But how? Questions tumbled through Osawa's mind. His fingers tapped out a quick message. He doubted he'd get a response, but he might as well try. Who are you? Where are these images from? I feel like I'm not taking the right tone with this guy, but it's really hard to read like as it comes out. The UA virus got its name from a Swahili word for flower. And this virus is roughly 9 nanometers to 110 nanometers in diameter and 500 nanometers to 700 nanometers long. Because of its pronounced sickle-like shape, it is sometimes known as the sickle of death. It possesses a viral envelope, the surface of which is coated with spike-shaped protein protuberances. Okay, if you know what any of that means, or have any context for why that's important, there you go. Supposedly, this was based on the fact that the propagated form of the virus resembled the petals of a flower. Despite the flowery name, however, the disease was anything but pretty. UA didn't... Oh, it's a word. Ua didn't just mean flower, it also meant to kill. Or is it Ua or Ua? I don't know. We'll go with Ua. Let's go with that. The virus had a mortality rate of 100% in those it managed to infect. And because most details regarding the Ua virus have been suppressed, cases of Ua infection are largely unknown to the world at large. Because all patients known to be infected with the virus on official record have died within a short time frame, the mortality rate is given as 100%. As the incidence of known cases grows, the number may drop below 100%, but the mortality rate will likely remain extraordinarily high. Moreover, there was a very short incubation period between infection, the onset of symptoms, and death. And these are inhaled viral particles can spread from the lungs to the lymph nodes, and from there disperse throughout the body. The virus propagates in several places, including liver cells and macrophages, which is a component of the immune system, and destroys the endothelial cells within blood vessels. Upon reaching the brain, it forms a neural sludge of blood mixed with other bodily fluids. Within roughly 12 hours, bleeding would set in throughout the body, everywhere but the bones and muscles, with lethal results. Due to its incredibly high mortality rate, the disease's very existence had been kept hidden from public knowledge. Lots of words. Lots of big words. Osawa's computer tried to signify the arrival of a new email. The sender was A. He hurried to open the message. Once again, the subject line read, 1 year ago, South Africa. Your crimes. Osawa stared at those two words. My crimes? That left him only with further questions. He looked again at the images from the previous email. What could this mean? What makes any of this my crimes? He could see that the patient's bleeding was severe. He estimated several hours had passed since the onset of the disease. It wouldn't be long before their lives were cut short. To feel that agony, that suffering, and then to perish. Am I to blame for that? Is he? Okay. Another faint knock came at the door. Darling, do you have a moment? It was his wife. Yeah, come in. I stepped into the study, the room filled with the scent of her perfume. Jesus Christ, she's got a lot of perfume on then. Have you reconsidered the whole America thing, she asked. This again, Osawa thought sullenly to himself. Please, he said. Can we not discuss this right now? If not now, then when? You know this isn't a decision to just make on your own. On his latest business trip, a major American pharmaceutical firm had attempted to headhunt him, asking him to join them and be among the top researchers in the world. The money and prestige held no interest for him, and he was reluctant to turn his back on Okoshi Pharmaceutical after his many years of service. And this is where he works, blah, 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 solid sales network, both domestically and internationally. Annual turnover, 1 trillion yen. That's a lot, isn't it? Holds patents for several medications, and is influential at the Ministry of Health, Labor, and Welfare. Cool. Nonetheless, he was intrigued by the offer. It would mean the chance to conduct his virus research in a much better funded environment. Taking the job would necessitate relocating to the U.S., however. When mentioned the possibility of emigrating to Ai, she'd shot the idea down on the spot. Her opposition was understandable. Ai's father, Suguru Makino, was a member of Okoshi Pharmaceuticals board of directors. No way was he going to let Osawa jump ship to another company. Darling, please. I drew in closer to him. Think about it from my perspective. If you leave for America, what am I supposed to tell my father? He'd gotten so used to it, that grating whine of hers. Have you considered what might happen to Okoshi if you leave, dear? Ugh. We can discuss that once all this is finished. Osawa kept his voice as level as he could. You do remember that you're a director, right? I said. You have responsibilities. Stop thinking about yourself so much. Oh shit. With a sour look, I turned and departed. Blech. Well, he had known that moving to America would never be a simple matter. Would be a simple matter. Regardless of what his wife thought about it. There was another reason, however. The antiviral agent that he had developed at Okoshi. This is a therapeutic drug to treat viral infections, include the drug used against influenza and HIV. Do not eliminate the infection because you can't get rid of a virus. They inhibit the development of the disease. There's so many issues with such drugs, including the risk of... Oh, shit. Including the risk that they develop a resistance that makes the treatment ineffective, and blah blah blah. Cool. After the UA virus was discovered, infectious disease research facilities worldwide had thrown themselves into a top-secret effort to develop a vaccine. And these prevent you from getting a virus? Yeah. But Makino had ordered Osawa to work on creating an antiviral agent, not a vaccine. A vaccine immunized the subject in order to prevent infection in the first place. Conversely, an antiviral agent could be used to treat patients already infected. It was a so-called wonder drug for combating the virus itself. Creating such a drug was far easier said than done. Developing the antiviral agent had been a long, arduous road. Is that Ramune? Only after years of research had Osawa's team succeeded in identifying a substance that might qualify as an antiviral agent for UA. In theory, if it was administered during the virus's initial stages, 100% recovery could be attained. Data also suggested an 80% survival rate for patients treated shortly after the onset of symptoms. But there was a fatal flaw with the new antiviral agent. The side effects in the body were unusually potent. If it was emitted in amounts beyond a certain threshold, it was linked to life-threatening complications. For a time, the research was at an impasse. It had seemed that the drug had to be administered in high volume to combat the explosive propagation of the UA virus, but then Osawa had received some fortuitous news. Okoshi Pharmaceuticals' nanotechnology branch had engineered a cutting-edge device known as a DDS. Technology created and or operated on an extremely small scale, often measured in nanometers. Some nanotech devices are literally regulated on the atomic level. The possibilities are ever expanding in practical fields such as medicine and material science, and the US is among the world leaders. Cool. The DDS is drug delivery system and administers ultra-microscopic drug capsules to a targeted area of the body. Okay. Osawa had jumped on it immediately. By administering his antiviral agent with the nanotech DDS, he was able to use a smaller amount of the drug to squash the UA virus with precision. This one. Because a DDS can be used to deliver a drug with pinpoint precision only where it is needed, you can greatly reduce the side effects or even very potent drugs. The DDS developed by Okoshi Pharmaceutical utilizes advanced high-tech polymers which ensure that the capsules containing the drug are fully broken down and eliminated from the body roughly 1 week after administration. This is how to do it. Huh. Yo. Neat. Oh. The procedure was a huge success. There was an marked increase in the drug's efficacy, along with the expected decrease in adverse side effects. And a pharmaceutical said to have a positive effect if its use brings about the desired results when treating a medical condition, but many drugs create unwanted or unforeseen adverse effects as well. Given the extreme complexity of most drugs' interaction with the human body, nearly any medicine can have both positive and negative effects. I'm gonna go and do my streaks real quick because I forgot to do that this morning. Un momento. Cool. There we go. That's all we needed. The effects had been confirmed via animal testing on monkeys, and now the antiviral was ready for the final development stages. Clinical trials on humans. And animal testing. Experience involving drugs or medical techniques tested in animals to confirm their safety before they are used in humans. The 1964 Declaration of Helsinki, which lays out ethical standards for human experimentation, advocates responsible human testing, but many animal rights advocates regard such testing as a form of animal cruelty. When a new drug is being prepared for government approval, after it has been tested on animals, it must pass tests on humans that evaluate its safety and suitability. Such tests are frequently conducted on both patients and healthy individuals. In Japan, the development of new drugs is often hindered by insufficient legal infrastructure for conducting clinical trials, resulting in a smaller knowledge base and fewer opportunities for testing. But the very existence of this new wonder drug was still a secret. No doubt Okoshi's leadership would be reluctant to see Osawa, the drug's lead researcher, transferred to another company. Still, it wasn't completely outside the realm of possibility. Once the antiviral was out of development and announced to the public, Osawa would be free and clear. For that very reason, he was loath to cause any friction over the drug right now. This anxiety only magnified his concern about the email he just received. Lots of reading today, guys. Osawa called up Tanaka over the intercom. There's something I want to show you. Could you come in here? He needed a second opinion, and Tanaka could be relied upon. Osawa opened the door the moment Tanaka knocked. He looked around before ushering his vice director inside. What's this about, sir? This. Osawa showed him one of the images. Tanaka's face went pale. It can't be. Tanaka clearly recognized the symptoms of the UA virus. Any idea what this is about? Osawa asked. No, sir. These images were just emailed to me. The subject line says, 1 year ago, South Africa. That would put it around the same time as the most recent run of infections, wouldn't it, sir? But that information isn't. Tanaka trailed off. Osawa nodded. The thing I don't understand is why these pictures were sent to me. Osawa opened the other email from A. The second message I got says these pictures are my crimes. I'll look into this on my end, sir, Tanaka said. He hesitated uncomfortably. Sir, just to make sure, are you asking about what I think you're asking about? Osawa said. Tanaka gave a slight nod. Understood. Don't worry. I won't trouble you. I appreciate that, sir. Visibly relieved, Tanaka left the study. Lots of reading. Holy crap. Give me 1 moment. That's not what I want. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. Hold up. Let me see here. Un momento. Oh my gosh. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm dropping everything. Oh no. Oh my god. Just checking something. Okay. Do. Okay, we're done. I think we're done. I think we're done with that. All right, we're good. We're good. We're good. We're good. Okay. So where are we at? Osawa brought up a folder marked UA virus on his home screen. On a screen. Don't save. Someone had a question on the Discord server that I had to answer, so just wanted to take care of that. Alright. Within the folder were enlarged images of the virus itself. He double-clicked one of the images. It blew up on the monitor to reveal the pathogen in intricate detail. A specimen of the UA virus was approximately 100 nanometers in diameter. 10,000 of them in a line would take up barely a millimeter, but a single tiny virion, upon entering the human body, could become 2,000 in an hour. That speed of multiplication was nothing short of astonishing. Even the Ebola virus had a typical incubation period of 7 days or so before infectees developed symptoms. And the Ebola virus, if you didn't know, was a virus of the family Filoviridae that causes Ebola hemorrhagic fever. Currently, 5 characterized species are known: the Thai forest, Sudan, Reston, Zaire, and Bundibugyo. Sorry if I butchered those pronunciations. Ebola is widely known for its high mortality rate, which is 50% for the Sudan form, 88% for the Zaire, but the Reston variety, discovered in monkeys that had been brought to the US, had displayed no pathogenicity in humans. For influenza, it was 1 or 2, but the onset of the UA virus happened in a mere 12 hours. Osawa viewed an image slideshow of the virus's propagation mechanism. It was a fascinating sight, no matter how many times he looked at it. Viruses existed to multiply, nothing more. They had no motives, no driving logic, nothing but simple multiplication. To Osawa, that fact held a certain air of mystery. If viruses had emotions, how would they feel about their lives? He had thrown himself into virus research in search of answers to questions like that, answers that no man could truly know. His development of the antiviral agent had really been nothing more than another job responsibility. He felt no particular sense of duty to protect people from a killer virus. He was just happy for the chance to play around with the UA day after day. Another email arrived in his inbox. The sender, A. The subject line, 1 year ago, South Africa. Again. Osawa read the message. Do not look away. These are your crimes. This time there were 4 images attached. Osawa proceeded to open each of them in turn. The first shocked Osawa so much that he felt like he'd been punched in the head. One of the UA patients from the earlier images was being injected with something. God, it's hard to read and not knowing where it'll stop. No, Osawa muttered to himself. No, Osawa muttered to himself. That slow crawl gets me. I hate it. It can't be. The second image showed one of the infected, hunched over in pain, vomiting up his blood. The symptoms had already manifested, but Osawa thought he could see that some degree of life had come back into the patient's eyes. He rushed to open a third image. It showed a morgue, piled high with corpses. The rictus of anguish on the dead faces made them look no longer human. Various fluids seeped from the eyes and nostrils. That's nasty. The lymph nodes were grotesquely swollen. And these are small organs that function as part of the lymphatic system in mammals, which is your... I forget what they're from. But when a foreign substance invades the body, the lymph nodes detect it, prompting the production of white blood cells such as lymphocytes and macrophages to consume the invader. A viral infection sometimes causes lymph nodes to swell up as a result of increased activity. And these guys are typically found here, around the base of your neck. That's why sometimes your doctor dentist will like feel them up, kind of check for lumps. And they're also under your armpits. And that's what you check for if you're sick, really. There were hospital beds stained with massive amounts of blood and gastric fluids. Next came the fourth and final image. More corpses. They had badges affixed to their chests with various labels. 6 hours passed, 12 hours passed, and 18 hours passed. It looked as if someone had been attempting live trials with the antiviral agent. Osawa didn't consider the antiviral agent ready for release, but that was because his team hadn't conducted clinical trials on humans yet, and there was a good reason why such trials hadn't been conducted. There was no way to test the efficacy of the drug without an infected patient. To run a proper clinical test, someone would first need to be infected with the Uwa virus. No matter how effective animal testing had been, if the drug proved ineffective on humans, that person would have a guaranteed death sentence. It was unthinkable to run trials that involved such a deadly risk. And yet, as he looked over the images again and again, Osawa became certain. Without his knowledge, someone, presumably someone from Okoshi Pharmaceutical, had conducted human testing with the antiviral agent. The time markers on the corpses in the fourth image were surely there to mark the time elapsed since the onset of symptoms. A thorough trial would test the drug's effectiveness in those time frames. Jeez. Reading is fucking hard. Remember to read, kids. Jeez. Practice reading out loud. It's really hard. Osawa slammed his fist on the desk, enraged. This was nothing short of vile human experimentation in the guise of clinical testing. The people responsible could not be allowed to get away with this. There was only one person Osawa could trust to keep this under wraps. His boss, Makino. He reached out for his phone to call Makino. But he stopped short as soon as he picked up the receiver. He knew he was in no state of mind to have a calm, reasoned conversation right now. Turning to the CD player, he put on Aya Kamiki's latest album. This is a good song. I like it. I wonder if this is an actual song. Leaning back in his chair, he surrendered himself to her soothing tones. Soothing tones. Bit by bit, he could feel himself returning to a calmer, emotional state. There had been a time when Osawa hadn't listened to music at all. In fact, he'd had no interest in the arts in general. Music, painting, cinema, so on. It was only due to a simple coincidence that he had found Aya Kamiki. His daughter had asked for a CD as a birthday present, so he'd swung by the store to pick one up. Since Kamiki's new album had just come out, there was a display for it in the front of the shop. Something about the bright, colorful album packaging had drawn him in. After a time, Osawa could feel himself growing calmer. He took a nice, deep breath. Banish your nerves, man. First, he took a nice, deep breath. Then he closed his eyes and tried to banish his nerves completely. Inclining his head toward the music, he could feel the melody pervade his body. He could scarcely believe there had been a time when he hadn't cared about music. Surely something that had such a strong effect on the body and mind alike also conveyed a deeper meaning. Osawa let the positive energy flow through him, buoying his spirits. At last, when his mood is sufficiently calmed under the music's influence, Osawa reached for the handset. Oh, Mr. Osawa, did you have to make a phone call? The study door had opened and a stolid-faced man had appeared in the doorway. It was Yoshio Kajiwara, one of the detectives of the Shibuya precinct. He's social but awkward despite his reserved personality, would be very unsettling. Nicknames such as Japanese Columbo and Little Ken Takamura. Give it his own quirky demeanor as a detective. He struck Osawa as a bit too soft-spoken and meek for a detective, really, and his treatment of the kidnapping case gave an impression of flighty detachment that made him seem rather undependable. No, it's nothing important. Osawa drew his hand back from the phone. Have there been any developments, detective? Kajiwara shook his head apologetically. I'm sorry to bother you, but when you're finished in here, would you be so kind as to come to the living room? All right, Osawa said quietly. I'll only be a bit longer. Kajiwara nodded and departed. He took a nice deep breath and then he dialed up Makino. Has there been any progress? Makino asked as he picked up. His voice was somber. No, Osawa said. Nothing much yet. A tiny sigh came in from the other end of the line. I see. Then what can I do for you? Sir, I'll just get right to the point. Had you conducted clinical trials using the antiviral drug? Makino didn't respond right away. What makes you think that? He asked at last. Osawa described the emails he'd received. When he'd finished, Makino let out his breath in surprise. Not over the phone, he said. We'll discuss this in person. I'll head over to your place when I'm done here. As soon as possible, sir. As soon as I can manage, Makino said. You're not the only person who's busy. What the fuck? With that, Makino hung up. There was no doubt about it then. There had been human testing. Osawa went to let Tanaka know he'd be meeting with Makino. Kajiwara stood in the hallway. He looked like he'd been waiting there the whole time for Osawa to come out of the study. "Are you hungry?" he asked. "Here, I've got something that's good for you when you're tired." Kajiwara then slipped a hand into his suit pocket. He pulled out a banana. "And these are fruit belonging to the family Musaceae, genus Musa. Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, was a huge lover of bananas, and the peanut butter and banana sandwich is said to have been his favorite. If a banana peel is dropped under even remotely comedic circumstances, there is a high chance that someone will eventually slip on it." "I'm fine, thanks," Osawa said. Kajiwara seemed to lack a detective's sense of situational awareness. Just being around him got on Osawa's nerves. "Well, sir, I need you to come with me," the detective said. "If you don't mind." He took Osawa by the arm. As Kajiwara hurried him toward the living room, Osawa could hear other detectives talking on the other side of the door. "He's working at a time like this? Seriously? Sheesh, I do not get rich people in their priorities. Yeah, I feel bad for his daughter. Her dad's a real piece of work. Nice, they were bad-mouthing him in his own house." "Oh, I'm really sorry about all that," Kajiwara said, pausing in embarrassment. Osawa pushed past him and opened the door. A number of police detectives had holed up in the living room. They went suddenly silent as Osawa entered. "So tell me," he said sarcastically, "would you rather I stay here weeping as I watch this disaster unfold?" The detectives winced and grimaced. "Forgive me for not being a perfect father," he added, his hostility building. Kajiwara stepped forward to intervene before things got out of hand. Now, let's not be touchy." "I am not being touchy," Osawa snapped, but he knew full well that he was. These guys had the time to sit around backbiting him, but not to go out and bring Maria to safety. Already close to half a day had gone by without any new developments. The ransom demand had come in the previous night at 8 o'clock. Maria had been abducted roughly an hour before. "Tomorrow, 10 a.m. by Hachiko in Shibuya. Have the sister, Hitomi, bring 50 million yen. If not, the girl's life is forfeit." The kidnapper called only once, so the police were unable to run a trace. "I'll do it," Hitomi said. "Anything for my sister." She didn't hesitate at the slightest at the suggestion that she make the ransom handoff. Osawa was staunchly opposed to the idea, but the police were of the opinion that it was better to acquiesce to the kidnapper's demands. Ai's reaction, on the other hand, baffled nearly everyone. "We don't have 50 million yen just lying around. Are the police going to be putting that together for us?" Kajiwara stepped in to reassure her. "If it comes down to it, the police will be able to help raise the money." "Okay, go ahead then. Do it. We need you to pay it back afterwards, though, of course." "Well, then what's the point of that?" Ai's voice spiked up to a piercing shriek. "Calm down," Osawa told her. "You're making a scene." Ai turned away in a huff. God, his wife's kind of a bitch. "It's all right, Detective," Osawa continued. "I'll talk to the bank first thing tomorrow morning and figure something out." At that, I stormed out of the room. Kajiwara bowed his head several times in apology. "As soon as Hitomi has made contact, we'll apprehend the suspect and take things from there." "What? Hold on. Won't that put Maria in danger? If we let the kidnapper get away with the money, we have no proof that he will return the hostage safely afterwards." There was a certain logic there, so I had to concede. "I see," he said. "So, you're saying that catching this guy will be easier for you if he keeps my daughter hostage?" No, that's not what I was implying at all." Kajiwara wiped the sweat off his brow and bowed profusely. "At least, I promise we'll get your daughter back safe and sound, Mr. Osawa." Obviously, there was nothing to be gained from further challenging the detectives. "All right, then. I'll let the police do their job." Osawa bowed even lower than Kajiwara had. Yeah. "How long are you going to just loaf around?" I shrieked as she just stormed into the room. "Hurry up and arrest this guy." She was becoming increasingly hysterical. An hour had passed since the suspect had taken the money, and yet the police had made no effort to apprehend him. The police apparently had a rule against discussing an operation before it was fully resolved, and so the Osawas had been left in the dark. But they had overheard the task force talking over the wireless, and it appeared they were deliberately letting the suspect roam free. "Hey," I snapped again, "if he gets away with our money, you are going to reimburse us, right?" Osawa scowled. She made it sound like the money was more important than Maria's life. The detectives exchanged uneasy glances. Osawa chided his wife. It's only money. Doesn't matter. Only money? Are you serious? Do you have any idea how much we're talking about here? The ferocity in her voice left him with no response. He should have known better than to expect her to make sacrifices for his daughters. By now, he was accustomed to ice coldness toward the two girls. The twins were Osawa's daughters from his first wife, who'd passed away 15 years earlier. I had no blood ties to Maria or Hitomi herself. Well, I continued, are the police going to reimburse us or not? She glared pointedly at Kajiwara. Well, right now we're focused on making sure Maria is safe. I stormed up to him, shouting right in his face. Stop dodging the question. Answer me. Yes, of course, Kajiwara squeaked. Maybe, would you like something to eat to help you calm down? He held out a banana, and I smacked it out of his hand. Oh dear, what a waste. Kajiwara scrambled to retrieve the fruit from the floor. Osawa went over to Tanaka and whispered into his ear. I'm going to meet with Mr. Makino. Tanaka nodded silently. Turning, Osawa saw Kajiwara looking in their direction. They made eye contact, but Osawa quickly looked away and strode out of the living room. Kajiwara followed after him. Excuse me, Mr. Osawa. Yes, what is it? The detective fussed sheepishly with his hair and forced a smile. Sir, we'd appreciate if you could remain in the living room as much as possible. Osawa was in no mood to stand on propriety. Look, I've got a ton of work to do, he said. Are you here to tell me to play the role of the grieving father too? No, not at all. Personally, I happen to think you're an admirable father, Mr. Osawa. Admirable. Did the word have a ring of sarcasm? He had no way to tell if Kajiwara was being forthright with him or not. You're no ordinary fellow, Mr. Osawa. You're a genius. A genius. Me. Osawa made a skeptical noise. Am I mistaken, sir? You've made very important strides in the field of virus research. Or, well, so I've been told. Osawa wasn't sure how to respond. He had never considered himself a genius. He was just someone who was more interested in viruses than he was in other people. Everyone who's a genius is also a little bit odd after all, Kajiwara went on. Probably he'd intended that as a compliment, but still. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with weirdos, so long as they leave us ordinary folks alone, you know? Is this guy trying to praise me or insult me? Osawa let out a heavy sigh. Oops. Genius, weirdo, what did it even matter? So long as he could be left to his work, he didn't care one whit how he looked in other people's eyes. Kajiwara wiped the sweat off his forehead with a handkerchief. By the way, what are you working on right now, he asked. I'm afraid you wouldn't understand even if I explained it to you, Osawa replied. Right, precisely. Even if I gave it my full attention, it would still be beyond me. He peered with sudden intensity at Osawa's face. I'd appreciate if you didn't hide things from me, sir, he said. Osawa gaped, at a loss for words. Oh, I'm so sorry, Kajiwara added hurriedly. Goodness, that made it sound like I'm accusing you of hiding something, didn't it? The detective bowed his head repeatedly. I hope you'll forgive me. He held out the banana. That won't be necessary. How about this, then? This time he pulled a bar of chocolate from his pocket. No, thank you. Did this guy just carry an endless food supply wherever he went? Oh my, Kajiwara murmured. You geniuses really are tough to sort out. He inclined his head, mumbling to himself for a moment. What can I get for you then, sir? What I'd really like is some time by myself. In a daze of exasperation, Osawa felt his way to his study. Locking the door, he finally let out the breath he'd been holding. Then his eyes lighted on the bookshelf against the wall. Aw, that's cute. He pulled out a photo album and began to flip through it. There were pictures of his daughter's grade school enrollment ceremony. Their mother had already passed away from illness, so Osawa had taken the girls himself. He remembered that after the ceremony, Hitomi had come down with a fever. Hitomi had been rather sickly as a girl, falling bedridden at the drop of a hat. Maria, by contrast, had been lively and energetic, quite the handful. Osawa had found it remarkable that their personalities could be so different despite them being twins. He flipped further into the album. There was a picture of the three of them at their grade school graduation. Maria was looking away from the camera. Osawa felt like someone had stabbed a dagger in his heart. His daughters or virology? Which truly concerned him more? Which did he truly love? It was ridiculous to try to compare the two. He'd known the answer before he even asked himself. Even so, human emotions were complicated and sometimes made people act inconsistently. One of the consequences of that was his photo album. This was the last photo he had of Maria. He searched and searched through the rest of the album, but she was nowhere else to be found. What? Oh, dang. So he really didn't have much to do, huh? I'm guessing you'd yell at your boss if you didn't take that deep breath. And if you didn't say anything, I guess that wouldn't matter all that much. $12 o'clock, boys. 12 o'clock.